thank you very much, Hillary, and thanks so much for having me here. I have to, first of all, say that listening to Jim Gray speak was so inspiring and so, I mean, at times, frankly, I thought, wow, he's describing the Boreal Forest Agreement. Isn't this perfect for me? So, so many of the lessons that came out of that I thought were so, so right on for all the work we do. But I must start, and I have about 5 or 6 minutes. So just a little bit of background. The Boreal Forest Agreement came out of about 20 years of groups like Greenpeace bashing the forestry industry in Canada and going abroad and telling Europeans, don't buy forest products from Canada, don't do business with Canada. And some of you in Alberta may have some sort of recent experiences with that. So we decided to change the channel. We created something called the Canadian Boreal Forest Agreement. And as Jim Gray said, this is really nothing more than a commitment. It's a commitment to work together, to change the channel, to do business differently. And the agreement covers a massive landscape in Canada. So 178 million acres of land. The Boreal Forest is a large green necklace that sort of encompasses all of the northern region of Canada. It also happens to be the largest store of carbon and the largest source of migrating birds, but there's more to it than that. One quick example, just to give you a sense of the scale, one single forest unit that's operated by Tolko Forest Products in Manitoba is the same size as the Great Bear Rainforest. So this is just one little piece of Manitoba. Now, the environmental groups talk a lot about protecting caribou, and caribou, in this case, we're talking about woodland caribou. They live in the woods. The challenge with talking about caribou is most people don't really care about caribou. So I've had many conversations with environmental groups about that. So the agreement, in fact, is about, it's much more about the people that live in the Boreal Forest. It's about changing the channel from what historically was jobs versus the environment to jobs and the environment. And it's, in getting back to the commitment, it's a commitment to work together, it's a commitment to trust each other, it's a commitment to do things in different ways. And in a sense, it's, we're hoping that it will be a great example of what collective impact really will be, and I think an example of a large national systemic change project at scale. And when we talk about scale, I think Jim Gray also mentioned this idea of working incrementally. And just to give you a sense, there are about 120 people working across Canada right now in 7 provinces to implement the Boreal Forest Agreement. Many of those people are meeting weekly around tables with First Nations, with local governments, with forest companies and NGOs, trying to bang out solutions on the ground to protect forests and protect the communities that are benefiting from forest products. So it really is all about community sustainability and the economy. And a big part of it is changing how people think. And really what people need to do is start thinking like an ecosystem. And it's not just an ecosystem in a natural way, but it's an ecosystem of ideas, an ecosystem of people, and an ecosystem of communities. And it's shifting the mindsets of how people traditionally have worked together. One of the big challenges are over 600 Aboriginal communities in the Boreal Forest. Of course, very challenging working with all of them separately, but right now we have Aboriginal communities at almost every table across the country working to help implement the agreement. So what's success going to look like? At the end of the day, and again, this is we signed a commitment. It's essentially like a marriage contract to work together. The goals were almost absurd in terms of what people were hoping to achieve over 3 years. But at the end of the day, we want to see this Canada be a world leader in conservation and the Canadian forest industry being a world leader in sustainability. And I think that if we're successful, it'll also set a precedent around how people can work together on a very large, very challenging, transformative project to essentially move an entire sector in the country. And so the forest sector, as I'm sure you know, is a big part of the economy. They've been, I would say, quite amazing to work with. I spent a lot of time with Avram, our former CEO of the Forest Products Association, and we've in fact become good friends, and we canoe together and spend a lot of time together. So really a big part of this whole effort, and we've been working on it now for 5 years, is about building trust. And I think that if we can essentially build this level of trust, we can achieve quite significant things that, excuse me, that we see on the agenda today that everyone else will be talking about this afternoon. And then finally, this is from Stephen Covey, who talks about a sense of abundance. And I think too often in the social sector and the environmental sector, people talk about scarcity. They feel that there aren't enough resources, there aren't enough opportunities, but really it's, I think, all about thinking in terms of abundance. So that's it. Thank you.